Okay. Okay, welcome to Satsang. Yeah, today should be an interesting one. It's quite different because of a realization I've had from gathering all the latest emails within the last 2 weeks, and I've had quite a few. And when I went through them, something came to me reading them, is that people are using the words, the teaching that they get from the videos as a way to escape the truth. And that's quite something, and it didn't occur to me that you can use the teaching as a way to escape the teaching. Okay, let me give you an example. I've had numerous emails, and today's topic is getting to know the ultimate solution. The ultimate solution is that, quote, secret that will solve every problem and overcome any fear that you have in life, because you get in touch with what is as it is. So instead of saying it what it is in words, as we keep on exploring from beginning to end, it's automatically leading you into this understanding of the ultimate solution. And the ultimate solution will probably will come to you as a realization, hopefully by the time we reach the end of the talk. Okay, now these are some of the emails that I received. I had 9 emails telling me they want to be more spiritual. I had 25 emails wanting to wake up so that life will be better. I had 21 who believed there was something seriously wrong with them, and 40 emails trying to get rid of their negativity and anxiety. Okay, now how are these an escape from the truth? This is very interesting. First of all, wanting to become more spiritual is making spiritual, the word spiritual, into another religion. I am spiritual, you're not. Separation. Okay? You with me? Wanting to wake up as if it's something that's going to happen in the future. Waking up is simply looking at now as it actually is. Waking up is not something that's going to happen. It is simply seeing clearly what is right in front of you. 21 people believed that there was something seriously wrong with them. I've realized quite a long time ago that there's absolutely nothing wrong with anybody, whether they end up in a mental home or whether they seem to be seriously ill. It's nothing but everything is self-induced. It is all unawareness of our true spiritual nature. One of the things that I've realized, and I have no doubt about that, is that I am a human being. Being playing the human role of Burt. And knowing that brings automatically an acceptance of Burt. Whether Burt is crying out of pain or anger, or whether Burt is happy because he's just meditating or found someone he loves. In other words, what I'm saying here is that Burt is always all right. And of course, Burt means Jim, Carmel, Jan, okay? So there's nothing ever wrong with you except the fact that you think there's something wrong with you. Okay, and these are quite something, so please keep listening, because by the time we reach the end, I'm hoping that you will get a realization of the ultimate solution. Last but by no means least, 40 emails kept on stating how they want to overcome. How do I get rid of my anxiety? How do I get rid of my negativity? You can't get rid of negativity, because negativity is a signpost that you are not loving at this moment. You're not loving yourself, or you're not loving life. You're not accepting what is, as it is. But what choice do we have? Life is as it is because it is, you see? But the moment you fight it, get rid of it, trying to control it or do anything with it, you are doing it to yourself. So as we keep on exploring, hopefully with all your help sharing, we'll be able to get into that final ultimate solution. And we'll find how simple it really is, because if it comes as a realization, you see, everything we turn into a word. And then that word is just a concept. Even Course in Miracles says, you know, words are symbols of symbols, but we make them real. And the moment you make a word real, you're finished. You're lost in it. You see, the moment I made Burt Harding real, then I begin to live from that image. I can't help it. Okay? That doesn't mean Burt Harding is not real. That doesn't mean the image is not part of what I see. But it's just imagination. You see, I'm much more than that. I am life. You know, we are all one life moving within that stream and motion. Just like the ocean is made up of billions of waves. Each wave is different, separate, and unique in its expression, but it's all the same water. You see, and each wave can look and says, okay, I've only have a millisecond of a lifespan, but I'm not going to be lost when I get into the ocean, because I am the ocean too. So I am life primarily, playing as Burt. So I have 3 emails today, which are simple ones, ordinary ones, but I found that each one brings us closer and closer to that ultimate solution. Okay? So I'd like it that each step that we take is going to bring us into that realization. You see, if I say to you this, the ultimate solution is forgiveness, yes it is. But the moment you hear the word forgiveness, you've already lost it. I've heard so many people say, how do you forgive? What is forgiveness? See, we want it mentally defined, intellectually deciphered, but it can't. You are a vibration, you are a fluid being, you are a light being, you are being, period. You are perfect as you are. But the moment you place yourself in a category, in a classification, in a role, which of course you are playing a role, yeah, the archetype is, we are all a different archetype, like Carl Jung came up with it, you see. And as a matter of fact, there are new archetypes now coming in vogue into the year 2013, even in earlier. For example, if a person, you can see it, he's a computer geek. They have their own appearance, they have their own everything, you see? Like, but it's an archetype. You see, there are people who are very musically inclined, they just love music, they always wear shabby clothes and they have no money. It's another archetype. You see, so we are all playing a role. This is fine. As a matter of fact, if you find what the archetype that you are is, it's one way of learning to accept who you are. And it is through that acceptance that by loving the human in you, the human and the being become one. And it is that oneness which is love. So we can talk about and Burt talks a lot, and you'll find that this is all concepts. Everything is a concept. But truth, when felt in the heart, you see, immediately there is something in you that says, yeah, but how can I put it in words? So this is what I'm referring to, the ultimate solution. It is not a word. You can say direct experiencing, yes, it is. It is it witnessing, yes, it is. You see, just like we can say, yes, it is forgiveness. But we have our own concepts of what these things mean. I want to go beyond concepts, even though I'm using words, so that you can feel it. You see, and when you can feel it alive. Today, I was talking to Jess and Jan, having a coffee, and Jess talked about transcendental meditation. And that's a subject that is very dear to me, because not that I practice transcendental meditation, although I do sometimes, it's just that it's transcendent. It transcends. transcends time and space and physicality, materiality. And it sees with the eyes of clarity, with the feeling of inner knowing. In other words, it sees what is as it is. You see? So now the first, let's go into the first one. Now the first one, this man is asking me a question. I'll read it to you. I hope I see it clearly. Okay, he says, I was listening to your video on how to see things clearer. It was very interesting, Bert, but one question comes into my mind that I don't think that you ever talked about. When your body ceases to exist in this reality, which I guess is death, does the awareness still exist? Now, this man said that I hardly ever talk about. Did you know that I've done over 600 videos and more than half covered awareness? And they cover that awareness is deathless, beginningless, endless, and it's a presence. And yet, he's asking me, I don't think you ever talked about it. Okay, well, the reason I'm using his term for two reasons. One, because people listen and they hear only what they want to hear. Two, is that awareness is what it's all about if we understand what awareness is. Because the moment we think of awareness, we think of something being aware. Awareness, everybody is aware. There is not a living thing that is not aware. It's called a presence. But this presence, if you were to stop and look, and ask yourself, was there ever a time when I was not? And it's not possible. Because there was never a time when you were not. Before the womb, in your mother's womb that is, before birth, you always were aware. Awareness appears as a form and plays the role of Burt, okay, of Jerry, of Jim. But it is, always is. Just like the ocean plays a different wave for a particular span of time, millisecond time as a wave. In the same way it plays as in this particular lifetime that you are in, using your name, in your profession, in your archetype, as a form for your evolution, so that you get back to that to the greatness and the light that you really are. But one thing that we forget is that we think there is such a thing as evolution. Well, here's another thing too, which is interesting when it comes to words. In a way, we are evolving all the time. Evolving towards oneness. Evolving towards the greatness that we are, the truth that we are. But the thing is, if we already are, it means that we're not aware that we are, but we actually are already. So in truth, we already are that which we seek, okay, and that we are becoming. So the becoming process is really a form of rising above, okay? Rising above means that you become so aware using awareness itself, because awareness is self-recognizing, you see? Self-recognizing means if I were to ask you, how do you know you exist? I've used it before, but it's the simplest way to understand. And if I ask you, how do you know you exist? You'll say, well, of course I know I exist. And I say, well, how do you know? And you'll say, because I am aware I exist. Ah, but is that awareness you? Yes and no. Awareness is all that you are, but awareness is not an ego. Awareness is not a personal thing. Awareness is. It's presence. That's what it is, presence. You know what presence is. The presence, you are that very presence. Okay? It's not objectified. It's you are. Wherever you are. Not wherever, because it's always there, whether you're dreaming, whether you're sleeping, whether you're awake, whether you enter a different state of consciousness, whether you are drunk or sober, you always are. You see? And that areness, that's your presence. You always know. And as you begin to understand more and more and more, you'll find that all living things are a presence. Right now, people are beginning to recognize, especially in the year 2013, that the world we've taken for granted to be, globally, the earth itself, it's a living presence. It's living. It's alive. We can call it Gaia, the Mother Earth. You see, it has feelings. When we did all those experiments with nuclear testing and destroying the earth more or less with pollution and everything, we were hurting her. She was crying. But still forgives us and moves on, keeping us alive with gravity, with the laws of nature. That's called love. See, so everything is made up of that love. So there is one thing that defies all explanation, and that is called love. If you happen to be sexual, you think of sexuality, lovers. If you think of emotional love, well, then you think of relationships. If you think love is mental, then you think of communication and sharing. And if you think of God, oneness, love is oneness, then you begin to think of it as the wholeness that it is. But again, even that, love is all that there is. So you are nothing but that very love itself. There is nothing separate from that. And that is not something you're going to achieve. So when people are using these words, there is something wrong with me, there is this happening, there is this happening, it's nothing more than an escape from truth, however subconscious it is. It is an escape from truth, because in truth there can never be anything wrong with you. You see, you are love, period. So if something happens to seem to be wrong with you, somehow or other you're defying or denying one of the laws of life. So in other words, you're not in synchronicity, you're not in harmony with that which is. You see, you're still identifying so much with the human you've forgotten the being. Now you might say, what is really happening with the changes? Well, in the year 2012, the emphasis was based on clearing, overcoming, changing ourselves into better human beings through understanding and dealing with our pain and everything else. The year 2013 is a totally different thing now. It's shifting into the fourth dimension, where we are now no longer need to clear anything because we're already perfect. It's teaching us now that we are divine beings and we don't need to do anything. So when you discover, hopefully tonight, about the ultimate solution, you'll find there is nothing you need to do, because you are already that. You are a fluid, harmonious, illumined being. And all you need to do is to know that. Then if you feel like crying, you cry, whether with tears of happiness or with tears of pain, whatever. But everything is perfectly okay to be what it is, because it is okay to be human. And that's the beautiful thing that we're entering now, is that the human is beautiful in all its ways, because it is teaching us so much. As long as we see that whatever, quote, we see as wrong is nothing more than a signpost towards greater love, towards greater being. Okay, so as far as the first question is concerned by that man, yes, awareness has never known a beginning, will never know an end. It is not possible. The fact that we are here now, isn't this a miracle? Do you see what I mean? Like every day I find it's a miracle to know I get up and walk and talk and look at my cat, and everything is just a miracle, because it is all the divine in essence, in motion, you see. And when you begin to see that motion everywhere, then you begin to see that everything is already perfect, already okay. All we need to do is learn to listen. One of the things that happens with all these letters that I get, unless they're the grateful ones, which are many, and I'm very grateful for that too, but most of the people that talk about problems is because somehow or other they don't want to face the truth. Just like somebody says, you know, there's something wrong with me, and why this is happening to me? Okay, reaching for sympathy, reaching for love, but seeking of love is not love. You see? So, okay, so now we're going to discover something more about the ultimate solution. Okay, let's talk about the second email. Could you read it?
Dear Burt, Namaste. I am seeking an answer to a dilemma that I have been faced with in the abuse, neglect, and resulting damages to my brother over the course of the past 20 years in an institutional setting, where he's been placed by his workman's comp, supposedly the best in the country. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
I struggled with forgiveness for many years of the numerous people involved in this very complex case, and kept asking God for help in this. During my search, the Course in Miracles came into my awareness. Not knowing what it was, and finally ordering the book, I find, lo and behold, 1,000 pages on forgiveness. I had to laugh at God's humor, and also realize that this was the answer to my seeking. Yes, I have worked on forgiving all parties, and still am faced with holding them accountable, as my brother is not alone in this abuse. The question is, how does one hold people accountable for their actions in harming those that people consider to be less than themselves, without going back into this lower vibrational field? Is it possible to forgive and still possible to hold them accountable? Could you possibly shed some light into this area for me? Very grateful for your insights.
Okay, now before I give you my spiel, which is more concepts, unless you start understanding with the heart, can I have some feedback on what she has just asked? Can we forgive and still hold the people accountable for what they're doing? They're supposed to be taking care of my brother or whoever it is, and yet they're creating more abuse. Many of our mental homes are creating more damage than anything else. Most of the drugs people take are not helping. But can we hold people accountable and still forgive them? Tell me your feelings, please. Tell me what comes to you.
Well, forgiveness is all about letting go. So, if you're letting go of harm being done towards others, I guess. I don't know what I'm saying.
You do know.
Forgiveness is about letting go. So,
Beautiful.
You let go, you hand over that accountability. You take the responsibility on yourself, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Okay, can I hear more? Yeah.
Yeah, I think what Jess is saying is who's doing the forgiving.
Uh-huh.
So if you're doing the forgiving, then how could you possibly hold them accountable?
Beautiful, beautiful. Oh, this is wonderful. Okay, who else? Carmel? Well, what do you feel?
It's looking at the situation as well as not necessarily an individual that is doing this to your brother, or it's in a sense just that consciousness, that totality of consciousness playing out in that way. And so looking at the innocence of it, how could you hold that accountable? And then within that, if whatever needs to happen would play out, it usually ends up that way. So, yeah.
Okay. What about your feeling about this?
Well, perhaps they want to be forgiving, because if in fact forgiveness is there, then they see the beauty of these struggling beings in this drama. So it's not the sense of I forgive, but yet I'm going to is double hooked.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that I forgive because I'm this wonderful being and I've found some spiritual books that help me is as hooked as, but I have to keep them accountable. Both of those are hooked.
That's right.
So the forgiveness needs to break the heart like waves on the sand, and for all of that pain that they're holding inside that they want to direct towards them being accountable, to flush out and for them to forgive themselves and all of that, so that all can return to the ocean and a whole other perception can descend.
Another thing about accountability is that we think we have to hold people accountable for what they do. That is not our business. Our business is to forgive. They're accountable to themselves. Yeah.
And it's also too, not that we are so great to be able to forgive, but more so that forgiveness is a result of. Like, I don't feel that I forgive, it's just forgiveness
It's just forgiveness.
itself.
Yeah.
So
So
how
forgiveness itself is not something that you actually do.
No.
It is more of an understanding, isn't it? A clarity that there's really nothing to forgive because everything is as it is. We're moving deeper into now the ultimate solution here. Okay, please stay with that, because this can be, yeah.
So the is what it is just the way it's happening in the form it's happening
Yes,
to whoever it's happening to,
right.
or whatever it's
And
happening.
nothing happens by chance. There are no accidents. The script is written and it is happening. When you ask someone, quote, realized, whatever that means, it means that they know who they are, they're playing the role, and you ask them, do you still become afraid? Well, they'll say, if fear happens, because it's meant to be at the moment, but now I can learn from it rather than allow the fear to control me. You see? So, in other words, we come back to the same thing. Okay? Nothing happens by chance. Nothing, absolutely nothing. When we begin to understand that and move with the flow of life, we move with synchronized action and movement, because the being is acting through the human, and we allow that to happen. That very happening itself is what living the enlightened, awakened life is all about. You see? So now your mind might be forming, what could it be? What is that ultimate solution? Is there a word? Is there a feeling? Is there something? And I hope that this is simmering right now in you, because the moment it comes, it's a big, big step realization, because that's what all life is about. It is that's the ultimate solution. Okay? Now there's a last one which is going to take us also deeper. And it is this. This is a common one. I always have received your guidance via your different videos and your emails, Burt. In 2012, I was about to marry. I finalized someone, but the person broke marriage as soon as I came to the US. I'm very frustrated from life. I'm feeling good for nothing. I cannot love myself. Indian astrology says that I have Shani Mangal Uti. Oh, I don't know what that is. So I have to suffer via mental tension throughout my life. There is no remedy for it. I stammer when I speak to. So every time when there is speaking situation before that itself, fear makes me anxious and nervous. I'm suffering a lot and I don't know what to do. Astrology says there is no other way. There's no other way. You will suffer from marriage as well, and you will suffer from job, etc. for the rest of your life. I really do not know what I should do. Please guide me.
Phew. He's painted himself into a corner of identity that, whoa, he's got a strong identity with that.
Right.
But no freedom.
No freedom. Yeah, isn't that something? And yet, I get so many emails like that. Self-pity, low self-worth, low self-esteem, thinking there's something wrong with you. That's a big number. All depression, clinical depression, mental homes is filled with people who believe this. But it's all a belief. It's an illusion that have made the self-image no longer just imagination, but something very, very real. And the suffering is real to these people.
It's all of them.
All of them.
Like it's all encompassing of
Yeah.
the whole person.
Yeah. Yeah. So let us share. Okay, what you said just wonderful there. Okay, anybody else would like to tell me how you see this?
I think it's important that it was coming up today when a friend was asking, she's going through sort of a crisis right now, relationship and other stuff, and one thing that was coming up if I were to speak to her was to encourage her, can you be fully honest in those moments and not utilize that self-victimization and juice that, as you say. And I think that's so often what we do. I mean, even a week and a half ago I saw myself having a bit of a temper tantrum and someone was wise enough to point out and say, this has nothing to do with the story. What are you trying to get out of this or hold on to? What are you trying to defend? So
Right.
the honesty, if we can not run from these but stay in the moment and say, what am I denying myself here?
That's right.
Yeah.
We don't even have to say what am I denying.
No.
If you're not happy in the moment, it means there isn't enough love in you. That doesn't mean love is missing. Love is never missing. God is all there is. God is love. Okay, that is never missing. But the point is, where am I extricating myself, separating myself from the very thing that I am? You see, and that, all you have to do is that. You don't have to find out what it is, because that's more mind play to get lost into the story. You see, but to really see, where am I denying? How am I playing this game? And that in itself is enough.
So what is it about that? It's almost like the beginnings of love, of accepting where you're at. Like, what is it about that opens it up to be understood? Like when you're all the
all these negatives.
yes,
Yeah.
like for instance the letter, right? When you're all that, what is it about?
Just
Accepting
acceptance.
it. What is it about that opens it up to?
Very good question. Very good question. Now we're getting deeper into the ultimate solution. What is it in acceptance that changes everything?
That's what I'm seeing. Is it a glimmering of self-love of some sort?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
It's
It is.
allowing.
But what is it that this acceptance of what is as is, which cannot be anything else because it's happening?
It's self-created. I mean, you've created it, and you're allowing your creation to be.
Very good. See, everything that is happening to you, seemingly to you, that is negative, you create it. But you cannot get rid of it Because that which the mind created, how can the mind get rid of the very thing it created? You see? Like Albert Einstein said, he says, any problem, you cannot, you cannot solve a problem by the very same mind that created it. You see? So therefore, by accepting it, you go beyond the self-creation. You go beyond your own ego that created this. The reason we create ourselves put ourselves into a box, into a corner, it is because we want love so desperately. We think something is lacking, we didn't receive enough love and affection. So we want to feel sorry for ourselves because that way we can get some love. Maybe even though it's even though it's sympathy, but yet we crave it. I remember when I was a kid, and my mother used to take so much care for me when I got a cold or something like this. You know, I would stay home, not go to school, and she would feed me, and then I would read the comics, and I would feel wonderful, so much attention. And as a matter of fact, it happened that I would get colds very often. and and it was an escape for me to get the sympathy and the love that I wanted so desperately. Okay, so this is what is happening to a lot of people, you see. They start out not hating themselves, but they create enough problems because they want attention so badly. You see? Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I think that did it. Okay, so this is it. So self, masochism, for example. You know what masochism is, okay? You see? So self-inflicted pain. Why do we do it? But there's another thing why do we do that too. Because the most frightening thing there is to the human is knowing that you are God. Even the fact that you are God is frightening.
Well, it means that your whole game and identity and image that you've struggled so hard and righteously for just evaporates.
Yeah.
And that's like death.
Like that, because you think you're losing your identity. And I'm becoming like everybody else, thinking that there is somebody else other than you. There isn't anybody else other than you. Different bodies, yes. Different appearances, yes. Just like the wave sees many other different waves, but it's all the same water, the same life. You see, that's what love is. See, you cannot put words to love. Love is that which you are, the awareness that you are. This is who you are, this awareness. See, but the moment we think of awareness, immediately we think of it as something. We're using words here again, but awareness is not something, it is a presence. And that presence, it just is. I know I exist because I am that presence. It is self-recognizing. I recognize it in myself. That's how I know I exist, because I am aware I exist. And it is self-organizing. Awareness is self-organizing. Wow. You know, when I was a kid, I mentioned it last satsang. I said I was a teenager, but I goof up with time. I wasn't a teenager, I was just a kid, maybe 4 or 5 years old, and I said I saw a woman with a big tummy, you know. And I said, why are you so big? And she said, well, I have a child happening here, a baby is coming. You know, and I said, you have a child inside you? You know, I was just a kid. And, and it was quite a revelation to me. A human being is inside? And then, even in my small mind at the time, I began to think, so every living human being on this earth came from that tummy. It created its own brain, its own circulation, its own kidneys, its own liver, its own everything. My goodness, who's doing it? Who's the director, you see? That is self-organizing. Awareness is self-organizing, just like keeping the earth rotating around the sun, creating time and space, and the seasons and the calendar days and everything that is happening. Self-organizing. That's who you are. See, and then when we talk about self-organizing awareness, we're thinking that self-organizing is just happening and we're looking at it. No, it is you. It is you we're talking about. When that began to happen to me, I was, I would be flooding with tears because I can't contain how beautiful I am in my true nature, which is of course all of you, all of us. I'm not talking about Burt here, Burt is just whatever, it's a name. So this is the miracle. It is all. Who is it? Can you pinpoint to somebody who's doing it? Is there someone who's doing anything? No, it is self-organizing. Capital S, of course. You see, and I call it God because that is the most beautiful word of all. It is complete. You see? So when a person feels bad for themselves, they feel like victims, they are denying their completeness. No wonder they end up in a mental home. No wonder they end up cuckoo gaga. You see? Because they have denied and have not been able to see the beauty and miracle of now. Another thing that is happening all the time with many of these emails, and I hope I'm being heard, is that when a teacher, whatever that is, he talks about truth, they think that he is talking about something that's going to happen. We're talking now, this moment, you see? And everything that happens in a human form is absolutely okay. So many people feel so guilty because they feel guilty. Believe it or not. They get angry because they are angry. See, angry at being angry. And they hate themselves for realizing that they hate themselves. Are we beginning to understand how crazy it all is? This is a self-contradiction. Okay? But when we stop and look at it, we'll see the absurdity of it. That we are so grand we cannot stop and look at it and see it. We cannot see the beauty and the miracle of now itself. All the teaching that you hear, it doesn't matter who the teacher is, it doesn't matter who's talking about oneness, it is all we're talking about this moment, seeing this moment. It has nothing to do with what you're going to be getting from it. You see, because it has nothing to do with words, but words have to be used. You see? So now I'm going to ask you a question. And please tell me what comes to your heart as you have listened. What is this ultimate solution? You can put it in words, of course, what else can we do? But let's get into a feeling of it. What is this ultimate solution? This ultimate solution means it's all in what we need. We don't need to study, we don't need to read books, we don't need to do anything but just know that. Because it is the ultimate solution. What is it?
God is.
Well, that's beautiful. God is. So now what comes from that? Wow, that's beautiful. God is. God is.
Everything.
So now feel that out. God is. So how are you going to act from now on when you think that God isn't? Because if you feel bad about yourself, then to you God isn't. Because God is you. There's nothing outside of that. Yeah.
Comes up for me is silence. Silence.
What?
Silence.
Silence,
Still.
okay. Okay, so when you have a great fear right now, when it comes this fear, so wow, it really takes over. It shakes you up. How do you listen to silence so that you can do it? What is
Well, I guess
that?
I
What is
know-
happening? What is going on there?
I know that that's not what I am. It's a reaction
Okay,
that I know.
okay. So therefore, what is your attitude and feeling knowing about it? What is happening? That very,
Well, it's almost like seeing it, it's gone.
okay. How do you see it when you're filled with fear?
Well, I see the fear coming on.
You see it coming on before it actually comes on, because once you're caught in it,
You're
the
gone.
word is caught, right? So the moment you're caught, you are believing it. The moment you believe it, there is no love there. You've been extricated from the very nature of who you are. You're separated yourself from yourself, which is called insanity. You see? It is that separation that causes all the insanity. So, so at that point, you see it coming on. That's beautiful.
I feel it coming
You can
on.
feel it coming on, and there's something very sharp. So what is it that makes the ultimate solution at that moment? What is it? If you have to use words, that's fine.
It sounds like it's acknowledgement. Like,
Acknowledgement.
yeah, if you are able to stop and acknowledge, you know, whatever is going on, whatever conflict's happening, you can differentiate where the where the lack of your understanding is to bring you more into the present moment.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Okay. Yes, yes, it does. It does. So it brings you into the present moment. What is it that we are doing that brings us into the present moment?
Accept.
Beautiful. The closest word to the ultimate solution is total acceptance. Total. Because there is nothing else you can do.
And you
It
have
is-
to accept it because you've created it
That's right.
too.
Yeah.
But
You are
have
not
to-
separate from life. You are life itself. Whatever is happening, you are totally involved. The moment you see your involvement, the moment you see your oneness with what is, immediately it brings that human part of you integrated with the wholeness that you are, with the being that you are. There is total integration at the moment. It is that integration itself which also brings healing. You see, it brings sanity, in other words. Insanity is any separation from what is. So acceptance of what is the only ultimate solution. Isn't that simple? To accept what is because it cannot be any other way, and it can't be any other way because it is. It is happening. It is. You see? To deny or defy or defeat or try to control what is, feel it. Isn't that insane?
It's like it's attacking itself.
Yes, attacking itself. Yeah, to see that right now, to start seeing that. You see, you need do nothing. Now suppose your human part gets up in the morning and you're in a bad mood. You cry very easily, you get jittery, you get irritable, things bother you, blah, blah, blah. And what can you do in the moment?
As well as be with what is, there's also the awareness of this beautiful human drama playing out.
Mm-hmm.
And arising from that, not necessarily from you, but from life itself, is a compassion and blessing on the what isness.
Mm-hmm.
And so that that takes you out of the bubble, or it allows you to see the beauty of the human condition, because it is free and we do our own binding, but seeing that is a beautiful thing.
Yes.
So
Beautiful.
that,
Because allowing yourself to feel as you feel, even though before you called it bad thing, stops being bad when you don't make yourself wrong in being what is at the moment. And that itself corrects itself. That itself is the understanding of what is.
In some ways, you are just along for the adventure.
For the adventure. So we are here on earth to play the role, the human role that we are, and to accept it completely as it is. Other people might criticize you, other people might say you're doing something wrong and you shouldn't, blah, blah, blah. You know, which happens with a lot of people who are living the truth, because they become what is called radical. You see, Osho, for example, was very radical. So this is what happens, but you accept it all, love it all. Mm-hmm. And that is the saving grace of the ultimate solution. You see?
In some ways, it's trusting life. Don't make no crap.
Yeah. And to see the perfection that you are in the moment, even in your tears, even in your pain, you can see beauty in it. Because it's all part of the drama. See, everything is energy, everything. You know, we think of feeling good as energy. We think of feeling high as energy. But crying is energy. Feeling anger is energy. Feeling whatever, feeling negative is energy. Everything is energy. But the moment you see it as energy, and you don't try to control it, and it's okay to work itself through you, that very allowing itself integrates you with the being that you are. Why? Because at the moment you're not doing anything. You are being with it. Got it? So you become one with your being. That's called integration. That's called healing. You see? It is so simple. And now we're moving into, again, this dimension, a higher dimension, and we're allowing, trusting, being with, and simply everything as it is okay. You see nothing as wrong. When you see nothing as wrong, only love flourishes. The reason sometimes we hate ourselves is because we think we shouldn't be this way. Hogwash. You are the way you are, and it's okay because life is expressing through you as that form right now. You see? Are you understanding what I'm saying? Please ask. Let's challenge it.
It seems that if you allow what is in that being, and there is an awareness of that, then the changes that you seek actually are engineered from life itself, because you aren't going to keep on hitting yourself in the head with a hammer when you can see what you're doing. So that drops, not because you were bad and you shouldn't do it, but because you are allowing yourself to see all of who you are, and that awareness actually is self-cleaning, if for lack of better words. It's that awareness is allows you to see both the beauty of you, but also allows you to see yourself doing harm to yourself or others, and that's ridiculous. And so in that ridiculous, without judgment, not ridiculous.
Without judgment.
Then
That's
it
the key.
changes without effort. It changes from the inside out because of the freedom, as opposed to because of the control to be something better. Would you say?
That is the ultimate solution, ladies and gentlemen. And that's it. That's beautiful. Namaste.